Yep. And now we're back.
Now continuing to transmit, yes?
Yep, we are. We're on YouTube.
Sorry about that. Yes, looks like everything is back up and running properly. Yusuf, that was, yeah, what a mess. Well, it shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have a machine crashing in the middle of something like this. Quite sadly, it crashed in the worst way possible, so there's no log file, no nothing. We won't even know what caused the issue, so that's going to be tough to fix.
Oh. With that, Roland Zux, he's still gaining by over 2 seconds a lap on Dylan Klaver. 2 seconds a lap, a 2-minute lap. Well, you're talking about 60 laps, which will take the better part of 2 hours. So maybe in the final hour, Roland Zux will be on the same lap. Again, if he's able to shave off a pit stop due to, you know, having to reset the car, get a new engine, it means he would have left the pits with a full tank of fuel. So this was what, about 10 minutes ago, so 3 hours 13 minutes in. I don't know, 40 minutes, 1 hour 20, 2 hours 2:40, 3:20. It's going to be close. I think he might just be able to get away with doing one less pit stop. It's going to be very, very close though, I think.
Gonna have to get my track map up once again so I can...
I mean, Dylan Klaver is about 15 seconds behind Roland Zux on the track.
Parked somewhere, causing a yellow flag.
Oh no, bad news for Gabo Hevesi. I'm still riding a ball with Roland Zux, blue flags being shown.
Chicane, he's back rolling.
Oh no, not good news for Gabo Hevesi. And hopefully it doesn't catch out Roland Zux as we go through Blanchimont. Flat, getting a little tow from one of the MP2s up ahead. Jump onto the brakes down and bust up chicane. No sign of Gabo Hevesi, so he's probably got his car reset and all that. And with that, we're going to jump on into a commercial break. We have 3 hours remaining here for the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, so stay tuned, we'll be back momentarily.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
as the stream goes now, Yusuf, we are back under stable conditions.
Wonderful.
So that is at least good. And we're coming back after the commercial break with Roland Suk still doing his very, very, very best to catch up as the 26 has a massive crash. That was...
Oh, dearie me.
Hitting the barrier. That car has got to be completely smashed up now. That was into Farnet. I think it was a solo accident. Don't think there was any traffic anywhere near. He might just have overdriven the car in a kind of hot and quite desperate attempt to catch up and get back into second place. Do you by any chance, Yusuf, have the controls to rewind back and get that on a replay? Because I only have the magic power to select views.
Yeah, I think that should be possible. So let me get up Cyril Malbrun. He's not even jumping on into the pits.
Once you watch the crash, you will be amazed that he's not going into the pits.
Okay, I'm expecting a double somersault backflip. He's still got his rear wing on.
It's very close to that, very close to that. Once you see the crash now, you
last time he had an accident, he lost the rear wing.
Is he driving with, you know, there's an option, there's an aid to enable invulnerability. Is he driving with that on? You will be wondering after this. Oh, he's crashed again at the top of Radillon. He just crashed again.
Oh, it was with the deuces? Ah, he had contact with deuces.
Now he doesn't have the rear wing. Now the
okay, right, I have the replay up. So, going through Pouon, he gets passed by Mugen Sim Racing. It's all looking good.
Oh,
and then he makes contact.
Yeah, he didn't realize the deuces car was on the outside.
I don't really know who to apportion blame for that on. I want to see that again. They're going to do a bit of commentator stewarding. Obviously, the commentator stewarding holds no value whatsoever. I mean, it's happened before. So I'm just going to pause it here because I want to get the POV up from Dylan Klaver.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really tricky.
What did Dylan Klaver do wrong?
I mean, I think it was a late go for the outside. I think that gap was always going to disappear. Even if he's lapping, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm leaning more towards it being a one-move esport fault than Dylan Klaver. The second part, definitely I blame Dylan Klaver, not Dylan, one-move esports over, but I don't think there was a huge issue with the second part anyway. So Dylan Klaver's into the pits. 3 hours remain.
The way I would look at that, Yusuf, is to say, first of all, did anyone involved in that incident have a chance to do anything different than what happened?
Well, I think they
car
both did.
26, please hit speed limiter. Speed limiter. You are not driving safe on the track because you lost your rear wing. Please and thank you.
Magnitude extremely loud coming from race control.
It's always loud. The drivers just ignore race control. That's why it has to be really loud, isn't it?
Oh, I'm gonna have to turn him down now.
Oh.
That will have everyone watching the recorded stream on any platform suddenly torn out of their seats and their speakers falling over from the massive thunder of John's authoritative vocal commands. Is this the
Car 26, hit speed limiter, thank you.
That's, was that the chance that Roland Sux needed? If this all that he needed was just a little piece of a chance of a touching and collision with one of the other cars.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this one all pans out. Dylan Klaver still in the pits. Roland Zux will now be on the same lap. I think Roland Zux had to make a pit stop anyway, so if there was some damage, I think he got that fixed, but I don't think he had too much damage.
Well, if the EAC hackers did have like a massive strategy and everything planned out for the rest of the race, they will have now taken all that paperwork, all those spreadsheets, just set fire to all of it, throw it out the main door into the street, trampled all across it, jumped on it, and poured more gasoline on it, and burned it to the ground, and now it's just going balls to the wall now.
Well, uses are back out of pits. As they overtake Mugen on the exit of Speaker's Corner. So, what is the gap between your top two drivers? 95 seconds. Oh, things are spicing up, aren't they, Peter?
108 seconds.
Oh. Different timing sheets telling me different things.
108 seconds. They're not going to let this one go, the EAC hackers, are they? They're not going to settle in for second place.
No. Well, I mean, for both of those two, they've been in a rather furious battle for quite a while, so I'm expecting it to continue.
Guess they're still in the pits. That's the unfortunate Royal Melbourne. As I was saying, Yusuf, before that, and I know again, now I'm just a commentator, and my stewarding or marshalling of this incident doesn't count for anything, but I would say the way I would be looking at it was just to try and figure out, in that situation with the Deuce's car and Cyril Melbourne, could any one of them have done anything different to avoid what happened? And I'm going to have to say no, because it was a valid attempt at overtaking. Might have been a little bit late, but under normal circumstances, it shouldn't. Like they should have known that the LMP car would go for the overtaking as fast as possible. Because if you start to hesitate when you get up to those slower cars and try to go about them, that's when sort of misjudgments or miscommunications start to appear. So if you know that all the faster cars are going to go for it as soon as they get the chance, then you'll have something predictable to work with, and you just need to stay on the racing line, and the faster car will know that. Well, he tried. The Deuce's car went all the way off the track to the right to give room to Cyril, and it still happened. It still happened that way. I can't see anyone's fault anywhere in that. I'm sorry, but I really can't.
It's just one of those. I mean, to be honest, I think it's a weird, like, if you are the GT car in that situation and you see an LMP2, you tend to think, okay, I'll go out wide, the LMP2 will cut back and get me on the exit of the corner. I don't think... I mean, I just go back to the fact that when you... The rules in endurance racing are when you are lapping someone, the other person doesn't have to move out of your way. You have to find a clean way to go through. And then, you know, the other car has to, you know, not fight the position. So do I think that was a clean way for Juices to make the move? And I think I don't think so. I think it was a very awkward place for him to try to get the move. I don't know if that's enough to put him at fault. I don't know if that's enough to give him a penalty, but it might be just due to how much it affected one move. But then again, that's a case of, you know, there is penalising due to the result instead of penalising from the actual action, which is not the right thing in my book. So it's a close one. I think I'm leaning like 70-30 blaming deuces, to be honest. I think one move should have had the awareness to know that deuces were there. But as people like to say, it takes two to tango, and I think that was one of those scenarios. I usually hate that saying. Sometimes people will just use it, oh, it takes two to tango. All right, then, well, I'm just going to go full pelt into you, not break into a corner, take you out, and then say it takes two to tango.
So that's it. The deuces car didn't do that. He was prepared to go off track because there was a tarmac runoff area in that.
Yeah.
And the moment the cars just touched slightly, he actually went very wide to give way, and it still happened.
But that's the thing. He could foresee that incident happening, so was able to react to it. Whereas the One Move Esports car didn't know it was going to happen, so didn't have any time to react. So only started to consider reacting once that contact happened. And arguably, that's why the One Move Esports car had the spin and the deuces didn't, due to that fact. At least.
Your point is a valid point. It's an absolutely valid point. But in my mind, I'm going to put it down to the unfortunate way that the cars did touch each other.
Yes.
So
do you know what is something that we can agree on though?
That could have happened exactly the same thing, and none of them would have crashed, and they would have just rubbed slightly, and everyone would have been happy and gone on with the race.
You know something that we can agree on though? Roland Zux is still etching in onto Dylan Klaver last time around, over a second quicker than Mr. Klaver. He did a 202.5, Dylan Klaver a 203.8. And now Roland Zux trails by 90 seconds.
We are getting really close into that half a lap gap now. 3 hours, almost 2 hours and 3/4 of an hour remaining. Does that mean that the DVAC Hackers car will only have to stop twice? Or will they have to do a splash at the end as well?
That's what I'm thinking. I think in terms of strategy, it is as it is now, but Dylan Klaver or whoever is at the wheel of the Deuces motor car at the time will have to make a short pit stop to put in about half a fuel load.
That's funny, because that is exactly the same way that the race has been looking for the last, what's that, 15 hours or something like that. It's been all about that, who had to pit, who would blink last, who would have to pit last would be the one losing the race. I think we're still in there. But wow, still, hats off to Glam Racing for having that crystal ball and predicting that they would be able to keep up that consistency. And the confidence of Henry Coyer when we had the interview, wow. That was like trying to squeeze a diamond for. It didn't really work. Like trying to push him for his opinion on what was going on. He was very, very confident that they were going to end up in second place.
Yeah. Well, they did have strong words after qualifying. They said that they could do very well, and they have been doing well, in fairness to them, of the 404. But I'd argue they're doing well due to the misfortunes that have befallen other teams, rather than, a standout performance from themselves. Also, Adam Suresh, he's still chugging along. He's 22 laps behind Cyril Malbrun, 36 laps behind Nikolai Bezrukov.
Tips us into the pits now.
Okay, Roland Zux into the... So he's pitted about 4 or 5 laps after Dylan Klaver. Oh, if only that engine blowout had happened 4 or 5 laps later, I think that would have been an ideal time, because there's 2 hours 45 minutes left in the race, and we're talking about just over 40-minute pit stints. So 40 minutes for one stint. For a second stint, you're talking 1 hour 30, oh sorry, 1 hour 20, then 2 hours, 2 hours 40. So he can just about make it to the end, I think, whereas I think Dylan Klaver will just miss out. It's going to be really tight to see how this one all plays out. I know Ewan is good with actually being able to count the laps that a driver did over the course of a stint, but I don't have that power. I don't know how he does it, actually.
One extra pit stop on this track, because of the length of the pit lane. One extra pit stop is huge. That's 1 minute just driving through the pit lane out of the window. On any other track, I guess they would have had a chance. I am not giving the AC Hackers a big chance right now, as it looks right now, just by the way that you sort of lined it up right now. It's something that, for weird reasons, since I haven't slept for 30 hours or something like that, I can't work that out right now. But listening to you say it, I can work out that it's gonna take issues to hit that Deuce's car. But then again, the AC burned out an engine. Why couldn't the same thing happen to the 15 car? So would they really now have to be looking at the lap time differences and working out how slow is it possible for us to go and still win with 2 seconds when we get to the start-finish line? Because that is the tactic that I would be running now if I was in the Deuce's team. I would be so scared that engine would give up. So I would.
Well, on the plus side, if fuel save, it means they've got to do one less pit stop, and it means that they get to save their engine. So
yeah,
I see no issues with this. But let's see.
That depends how warm the engine is right now, which is something that no one knows.
Maybe just blow up the engine just so you can get a new engine.
Just to be sure.
Yeah. And that's when the second engine then blows up instantly after. That wouldn't be very pretty.
That's the problem. If they do that now, then the 95 will have been 2 seconds a lap faster for way too long now. So if they do that now, they'll end up way behind the 95 car.
Yep, they need to try to get this engine to the end. I do agree with that. They should be able to. I mean, we say 2 hours and 40 minutes remaining, but 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a fair amount of time, and a lot can happen in just under 3 hours. It only takes a split second for it all to go terribly, terribly wrong. And then the driver will just have the head in their hands, wondering how it happened and why them.
You know what?
I mean, I feel like so far, I feel like the DAC has deserved this win. As much as a team can deserve a win in endurance racing. I think they've driven impeccably well. They haven't made any mistakes. They had to start at the back of the grid because they forgot to rejoin the server in qualifying. So yes, mistakes in quali, but in the race, they've been perfect. They climbed to the front of the order, they got a gap, and they've maintained that gap for literally, they've maintained the gap for literally 22 hours until that incident.
Then again, Yusuf, they ran the car too hard. They ran the car harder than it was meant.
Okay. In fairness,
if that's not a mistake, I don't know what is.
In fairness,
it was clearly not caused by a single incident of them double shifting down or anything. That was purely because they ran the car too hard. And
we say that, but it happens to everyone. It happens even to the best. And I don't know how it is in R Factor 2, but I know in real life anyway, there is a certain element of randomness. You could drive a car much nicer for a shorter period of time and still have an engine blowout, where a team that drove their engine harder for a longer period of time don't get an engine blowout.
The game supports a random factor, but it's not added in, so there's a specific amount of engine life given in seconds that's on each engine, and depending on how, like the thing that will wear your engine out is high revs with throttle.
Yeah.
So there's a specific RPM number that is, if you're at full throttle at that number of RPMs, it will wear 1 second on the engine per second in real time. Go above that RPM and it'll start using more seconds per second. And if you go full throttle over that, it'll do even more and wear out even more. And the issue typically is that people forget that they have the auto throttle blip on when they downshift. And that will minutely give it about 20% throttle. So if you downshift too quickly and it auto blips the throttle, that is going to kill the engine very quickly.
Well, a lot of things to manage in endurance racing. Managing your engines is another thing, and sadly for Roland Sux, whether it was him or another driver maybe being a bit too aggressive on the revs, it has cost them. How costly that will be is something that we will have to wait and see. But for now, they are 2 minutes behind. They have just entered on into the pits, or come out of the pits, and they are about, well, I want to say a lap and a half behind Dylan Klaver, but last time round, well, they went 3 seconds quicker than Klaver, so they're doing a fairly decent job, I'd say.
No doubt about that.
Oh, and now Zoltan Varhonyi in the car, who I think will be in the car until the very end of the race. So now that Zoltan Varhonyi is pitted, they're definitely on the same strategy as Dylan Klaver, without a shadow of a doubt. But they are a lap and a half behind.
Yeah, so they're in with the penalties for rejoining, and as a comment to that penalty, that was just the stewards pointing out that there's no 3-lap penalty anymore. The penalty is 1 lap. Yeah, so that was just John beside me pointing out that a lot of teams seems to be of the understanding that it's still a 3-lap penalty for rejoining the race. That was changed before this race. It's now only a 1-lap penalty, and it doesn't accumulate. Nothing happens. The accumulation of penalty laps for each time you rejoin was something that was suggested, but then I don't know. I don't know why it was changed again, but as I said at the start of the race in the rules, it's just a 1-lap penalty, and it's just 1-lap penalty every time you rejoin.
Well,
and according to John, all 1-lap penalties are applied.
so Zoltan Varhonyi last time round still gaining 3 seconds a lap on Dylan Klaver. Well, last time round he gained 1.7 seconds, but he is catching by a fast rate. It's fluctuating between 1.5 seconds to even up to 4 seconds at times. And the question is, can Varhonyi close on to Klaver? He's pitted a few laps after Klaver, so he's got about 10 seconds in terms of stop that he can gain at some point, but nothing more than that.
I think we are being joined by Ewan O'Leary as well, aren't we?
Oh. I've not seen Ewan message yet, so I will await until I do have a message from Ewan, or I see him on our
He's in the
Video
broadcast,
chat.
He's in the broadcast channel. We might be right at the door. And we might not hear him knocking because it's a virtual door and it doesn't really, like if you're trying to knock on bits, it doesn't really have a sound. That is still Melbourne. Given it is best to try and catch up with the 404 Glam Racing. Not the most lucky couple of hours, last couple of hours for the 26 car. The incident that really cost them just now with the Deuce's car was, I'm going to have to say, not of their fault. And according to you, it was 70, 30 in the hands of Deuces on their fault as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very close. It's one of those where if I saw the stewards really put blame on either party and give a penalty to either one, I could understand it. And I wouldn't be going crazy over a bad stewarding decision, essentially.
But we have to remember that before that, they were involved in incidents of their own making, which actually already cost them the position. So this last one was really just the last nail in the coffin.
Yep.
That was Unison Racing having some funky tribulations with the 51. They were all the way off track in the gravel. Will that be in the action replay if I press? Yeah, it is. It's coming up right now. Whoa! That was close to the wall. As we're sitting here talking, Yusuf, 26 having issues again.
I was going to say, Zoltan Varkunyi last time round, a pretty similar lap time to Dylan Klaver. This time round, he went nearly 4 seconds faster again, so he's catching. He's catching. It's taking a while, but he's definitely putting in the work. He's putting in the laps, and he's slowly closing in.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we are going to have to let play out during a commercial break because we have passed the half-hour mark, which means that it's time for a word from our sponsors. So hang on, stay in there, stick to it. We'll be back right after this.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Bolt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
You are back on, if you didn't know.
Welcome back, folks. I did not know that I was back on.
Because I had to go for a quick break, so... trying to make it back as fast as possible.
Well, we have just under 2.5 hours remaining. Spa-Francorchamps. The battle is still between Dylan Klaver and Zoltan Varkonyi, and while the gap is bigger, it's actually more exhilarating than it was before, because Varkonyi is closing in hands over fist to Dylan Klaver. Before I was talking about how I hope Deuce Motorsport took Dylan Klaver out of the car so that the battle would be more exciting. Now I'm hoping Dylan Klaver stays in the car and Zoltan Varkonyi can continue catching, because we might be having a thrilling finale once again here at GTR 24H. It seems every time, Peter, the race gets very dull during the middle, and then right at the end we get a spectacular stadium finish, as we have died on YouTube again, I think.
I am seeing all online traffic here, all online numbers everywhere, so there shouldn't be an issue.
Oh.
Yeah, all the time, every time we, it seems like there's always someone battling right to the end.
Yeah.
You would have thought that we scripted this, and every time we have a meeting with the drivers, and we tell them, yeah, well, you're going to crash out at this time, you're going to crash out at this time, your engine's going to give up at this time, and blah, blah, blah. But well, it's just the way it happens.
Yeah.
Looking at the track map right now, comparing the guys, that is exactly 1.5 lap gap now. So that's pretty much.
Well, when you remember that Varkonyi
down to.
Well, Varkonyi was almost 2 laps down. It was literally 2 laps minus a straight. The fact that he's gained half a lap that quickly is very impressive, to say the least. And he's still gaining 2 seconds a lap.
He did it in an hour.
Yeah.
That's 2.5 hours left.
Which means it's going to be close.
If they're capable of keeping up this pace, and this gap in pace is going to remain, it is going to be extremely close.
And all will be revealed as we get further and further in.
The problem is still your point about the 95 having to do an extra stop. And because the pit lane is as long as it is, that is going to cost them, just driving through the pit lane is going to cost them half a lap. They need an extra hour to pick that up. That's not an extra hour on the clock. There's 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 40 seconds now.
Just keeping an eye on the gap, and we will continue to inform you viewers of how the gaps are evolving. Why don't I get a nice onboard of Varconi? Nella Pastorino in the 65 car. He's improving, but he's still 14 laps behind Jimmy Nisela. And to be honest, in the hypercar class, things are pretty much locked in. Viaduct in third, Pastorino second for Satellite Racing, and the other Satellite Racing car will be taking the win, but not the win of the overall race. That will be going to the LMP2 field once again.
Strangely enough, yeah.
Oh, Claver's in the pits.
Oh.
Claver has jumped into the pits. Now, we're expecting Varconi to be pitting in 2-3 laps times then.
On my track map, he is still running around the track. He's in Brussels.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Claver just came out pits. Claver has just made his pit stop. I looked at the YouTube stream, which showed Claver in the pits. But the YouTube stream is about 40 seconds behind.
Yeah, it will.
The live.
It will have someone of a delay, yeah.
It's cool because I get to see the past. I mean, Claver stopped in the pits, so no, he has only just come out of the pits now. And Varconi is going to be. He should be on the same lap. How far behind is? Oh, wait, hang on. The YouTube stream died. I'm looking at something from hours ago.
Ah, okay.
Yes, that is the issue. Okay, I do apologise, guys.
I didn't understand either.
Yeah, Varconi's just gained a second over Claver last time round. Oh, that's a moment and a half through Brussels. Did you see that rear end? That just went.
Saved it nicely.
So, do you think Varconi is pushing? I get a feeling he is.
No, he's just having a Sunday drive, isn't he? No. This is, as I said, all the rules, all the strategy, all the preparations, all the practice, all the thoughts, everything out the window, just balls to the wall. They don't even want to calculate or think about the splash and dash that they might want to do at the end or whatever. I'm just going to
say
there is no plan right now other than full attack mode, 150%.
I want to correct you on that because I think that's the case for Varconi, but Dylan Claver, I think he needs to nurse that car as well. He does not want an engine blowout at this stage.
Yeah.
Because then it's race over.
Claver really needs to nurse the car at home. If possible, he would get out of the car and carry it instead.
Yeah. To be honest, technically it's a virtual car, so it's weightless.
Yeah.
So I think he could definitely do that, but how quickly he can run around the track is another thing entirely.
You're breaking down the fourth wall now, so let's stay in the simulation and picture him carrying around an LMP2 car for the last 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah. I think that would be exciting. I'd say exciting to see, him running around the track. As our producer, John, our race control, informs us that Viaduct just did a 59.2. Did they?
I'm getting a 215.008.
Yeah. They have done a 159.2 at some point in the race, which how they did that I don't know, because Viaducton, no offense to Viaducton, but they're not exactly the fastest team out there. And the fact that their lap is only a couple of hundredths off the likes of Henry Sinnick and Satellite Racing, who also have James Zuber at the wheel, is rather baffling to me. So I'm skeptical of that one. I actually don't believe that lap happened. Unless he put on fresh tyres and they put on about 10 laps worth of fuel, put in some quality laps, I don't. That does not make sense to me. If they did with a full tank of fuel, that is absolutely phenomenal from them. But I'm very skeptical as to whether that lap did actually happen.
To be honest, during the night when you were asleep, Yusuf, they had a driver in the car, and well, compared to the other drivers in the car, he was in a class of his own. He was making that car fly.
Well,
talking about
John saying
they were suddenly lapping down in the 201s for no apparent reason, just like doing 204s, and then bang, 201s.
So I'm getting confirmation from John saying it did happen on lap 571, and then in caps locks saying it was Mikel Sigor who did pull out the lap.
Okay, he would have the experience to do it, yeah.
But then I still wonder why they didn't qualify higher up in qualifying if they could have had Mikel. Oh, that's a moment on the rear end. No.
That was exactly the Viaducton car. That was exactly
that's a drive-through penalty. That has to be a drive-through penalty. Zoltan Varkoni has just thrown it away for the DAC hackers. Oh, dearie me. I'm going to get a replay of that. He just locks up.
The instant replay is on screen right now.
Yeah, so just look at that.
Just dives inside. Oh, I wonder if he would have even made the corner at that speed.
No, he wouldn't have. So at that point as a driver, he had two options. Either go to the left or just try to throw it down the inside and hope it gets stopped. And Zoltan Varkoni went for the aggressive option. He hoped that the Viaducton car would see him coming from far back. And sometimes the Viaducton car might see that. But in this situation, definitely not. There is no way that 95 car does not get a drive-through penalty for that incident. And I think that has just thrown their race away.
And ended up just straight up T-boning.
Yeah, it was just a mistake. It was a straight up mistake from Zoltan Varkoni.
Well, he's under pressure. He's under tremendous pressure right now, so mistakes will happen. It's just a shame to see that getting let loose onto other cars on track. Are you able to get that from an outside viewpoint, so that we can, better see what actually went on?
Yeah.
Because from inside the car, I think it was quite hard to judge whether he was just way too late on the brakes or...
I noticed a little bit of a lock on the rear. The rear seemed to squirm from the driver's POV. But we'll go back and see if we can... I hate the fact, but there's definitely a drive-through penalty that is going to hit him. Maybe a time penalty, but I think it's going to be a drive-through. Unless Viaducton don't report the incident.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So if Viaducton have a feeling now that they would have been going too slow through the corner, and by that means getting into the way of the fight for the win, they actually might not want to report it.
Did you just see that car flying?
Yeah, that's missing data. It's R-Factor 2 sort of...
Should we show that on stream? Because I think this is the fastest way to go around Speaker's Corner.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Serious time, I'll go back to the actual incident. Because we're pretty much there. Because that is Brussels. And the incident happened through Le Con just 2 corners before. You can see the Viaducting car in the background, actually, the one that got clattered into.
We are allowed to have fun with the direction prediction code of R-Factor 2, which is what it's... Yeah, that's not gone well at all.
Okay, right, so here we go. Maybe it was. Maybe he did think he could slow down in time. Maybe for him, Viaducton braked really early, and he had to stamp on the brakes harder, locked up the rear a bit, had nowhere to go. I'm sure that's what Zoltan Varkonyi will argue anyway.
Is Viaducton off the racing line? Not really.
No. Well, I mean, Viaducton don't need to be off the racing line.
Yeah, but they're where they should be, and they might have damage on the car. The driver might have gotten a fly inside his helmet. I don't. Whatever. Everything can happen when you're driving close to another car behind it. So you should expect, like, don't put yourself in overly dangerous positions. Would he ever have been able to make that cut up the inside without Viaducton giving him space to do it? No way. And Viaducton should just follow the racing line. So yeah, I'm completely and 100% agreeing with you. That is sadly going to need a slap on the wrist. That was not the way to drive. And I know it only, like, Varkonyi doesn't usually do this kind of stuff. Now, in fact, when he was overtaking the Musto car, he was making very sure that the Musto driver actually knew that he was going to go up the inside, and he was kind of hesitant about it. So yeah, he wouldn't really drive in that way normally. So it's from him being under tremendous pressure. That's why it happened.
Big shame. Well, now I'm just looking at the timings, and Zoltan Varkonyi is now on the same lap as Dylan Klaver. He's 115 seconds behind, but 115 seconds too much.
Yeah, sadly. Seconds. That is the distance from, let me see, bus stop and all the way around to Speaker's Corner. Quite exactly.
He's staying out as well for a few more laps than Steen Prince. So the number 15 users have taken Dylan Klaver out of the car and put in Steen Prince, who is a little bit quicker as well, may I add. 63 seconds between the pair of them. That is not a lot. That's 50 seconds that Zoltan Varkonyi closed in to the 15 car. Ooh, actually, we're talking about 40-minute stints, right? So 40 minutes for one stint, for 2 stints, 1 hour 20, for 3 stints, 2 hours. Steen Prinz needs to go 2 hours 10 minutes. He's going to have to make a 4th stop. And if Zoltan Varkonyi can stay out for another 4 laps, or even 3 laps, I think that is enough that he won't have to make an extra stop.
He just needs to get below the 2-hour mark.
Even if it's just above, I think he could fuel save a bit so that he doesn't have to do an extra stop. It's going to be close, but if he gets a drive-through penalty, none of this matters because he's going to be much further back.
But he won't unless Viaducton reports the incident.
If Viaducton don't report that incident, honestly, Zoltan Varkonyi needs to personally go to Denmark and, I don't know, buy them some pastries. Because he owes them. Buy them a new sim rig.
Your point is that Viaducton actually right now has the power to determine who will be the winner of this race.
Yes.
Because if it does get reported, he'll end up serving minimally a drive-through penalty. And that'll cancel the effect of the possible extra pit stop for Deuces.
Precisely so. And, I mean, I know for myself in experience, but this is with racing in F1 leagues, sometimes you'll have an incident with a driver. After a race, you'll go and apologize to the driver in the hope that they won't report the incident. You kind of butter them up. You're like, oh, I'm really sorry about this. It's just a mistake. I got caught out, blah, blah, blah. I hope it didn't hurt your race. And we're still friends, all of that kind of stuff. And you hope. And then sometimes they'll say, yeah, I accept your apologies. No hard feelings, but I'm going to report it anyway. And you're like, oh, God damn it. And other times you don't, because you think what you did was perfectly fine and they were the ones at fault, and you'll argue it in front of stewards, and then the stewards will say you're wrong, and then you'll talk about how the stewards don't know anything about racing and blah 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 blah.
might be the position of Viaduct, and that they really don't want that power, so they're not going to get involved. They're not going to report it because they don't want to be the ones to decide who wins the race.
I've just seen Roland Zook in the YouTube channel. Haha, 107% DPI. I don't know what that is in reference to, actually. Maybe it's just about the DPIs being behind the LMP2 cars. Roland Zooks, driver for the number 95 car, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, for the AC Hackers, they've been doing a good job. Hopefully, Roland could let us know if they are going to be able to make it to that, well, near to that 2-hour mark, and the point where they will have to do one less pit stop than the 15 Juices Motorsport car. This race, the entire race strategy for Zoltan Varkoni, the hopes for DEAC Hackers, the hopes for Hungary, rest on that one simple fact. Can they do one less pit stop? If they can, we're talking about a 60-second gap over 2 hours, which is doable. Zoltan Varkoni is flying in his LMP2 car, but if they have to do the same number of stops as Steen Prinz, then they will be a lap down effectively.
If I was the DEAC Hackers, I wouldn't tell. I wouldn't let anyone know. I know it would be nice for us to know, but it would be nice for the Deuces guys to know us as well. Because right now, if they are having the suspicion that DEAC can go that far, then they will have to push.
Now, regarding all of this, I have a special someone. I've got a Deuces Motorsport member in the form of Turn Lower, who has joined us. Turn, how are you doing?
He needs some talking power here, so there we go.
Give him the power to swap. Hey, Turn. You were putting in a bit of a monster stint. You were really closing in up to the number 95 car. Then they had their incidents, and now all of a sudden, you guys are looking pretty good in the lead of the race.
Yeah, definitely. No, we were anticipating on this, but we saw them really using the engine quite hard in the night, like all of the race. And it was like, just keep them under pressure and let them do that, and we don't, and then it might go down, and it happened.
So I'm going to guess from that you guys have looked after your engine very well, no aggressive downshifts or anything of the sort.
Nope, no, and now definitely not anymore. I think a bit pushing, you do it a little bit, but not too much. But now it's like so safe, and not even you want to downshift like as late as possible and upset as soon as possible because there's the lead, and you don't want to blow the engine.
Now, I have to ask, and in no way don't feel like you have to say if you want to keep your strategy hidden. But with the way things are looking, are you guys going to have to do one more pit stop than the 95 car, or is the 95 car going to, or can you get to the end with 3 stops from here?
95 moves off into pit lane. Sorry for interrupting. Turn.
Yeah, so we have like equal pit stops I think right now. Still 3 to go, but our last pit stop will be longer, I think, of what I'm seeing.
Okay. So essentially, this is a battle between you two and 60 seconds separating you rather than a lap and a half.
Yeah, it's like more like half, lap and a half, and so with the pit stop, it will be I think a lap.
Okay. Well, in that case, you guys are in a pretty good spot. Will you be back in the car for the final stint, or is Steen going to be taking it from here?
No, I'm not getting back in the car. Dylan, who's been driving early on Sunday, will get back in the car and get him home.
Okay. Well, best of luck to you and the team, and thank you for joining us and giving a bit more information on your battle.
No worries.
Well, great to hear from Turn Lower. Great for him to join us in what must be, well, I'd say a stressful situation, but they have a large lead, and according to Turn, they think the situation is as it is. Now that Zoltan Varkoni has made his pit stop, they believe that they will both be making the same number of pit stops. Ooh, Radion, what's happened?
They're moving again. That was the 45 having a moment at the top of Radion. They are moving again quite slowly though.
DIS have not been having a good day, have they?
No. This is just a complete write-off. This is just one they want to forget.
Yeah. I mean, they're still getting fourth. Also, John's been aggressively poking me. I have seen
199 is back on track again, Yusuf, and moving. So they didn't exit. They just had the lengthiest pit stop of the entire race.
Yep.
They are, however, parked right now at the corner on Kimmel Straight right after that.
And they don't have a rear wing.
No. They may have been involved in the DIS 45 stuff.
I will try to get a replay.
That would be so nice of you, Yusuf.
Now, while I do this, because John's, honestly, if I take any longer to bring this up, John is literally going to get a flight over to the UK and scream at me to bring this up on broadcast.
Yeah.
Viaducton will not be making an incident report, as they just think it was a racing incident.
Yeah. Again,
wow.
Again, Yusuf, I'm gonna have to say sensible, because why in the name of
is it sensible?
Yeah, but because they're dead last in hypercar. What did that incident cost them? But
I mean, it didn't cost them anything, but it's a principle, right?
Yeah,
otherwise,
you use that to punish.
Anyway, let's look at this incident with ID Sim Sports first, because they're exiting the pits. Now, what happens? Oh,
sorry. Can we have that again? I didn't.
Yeah, so I'm going to blame ID Sim Sport. I think in that situation, you can't pull out to the left. You're in the pit lane. You got to come to a stop and wait for that car to move. That's.
Oh, yeah.
They cut the pit lane anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly, I blame both cars. I think they both deserve a penalty for that. DIS.
They should have slowed down.
DIS should have seen the ID Sim Sport coming and not moved. I think the decision to move at that point was a bad decision. But I think also ID Sim Sport should have slowed down. You're coming out the pits. You
very
can't.
Close to being collected by the 51 WSR car as well.
Well, either way, it's more bad news. ID Sim Sport, they come out, it's like, right guys, let's just bring this car home. They come out of the pits and they have an incident straight away. It's not pleasant. Honestly, after that one, I can just see them retiring. But, okay, so to go back to the incident with Viaducton, I mean, you might as well then just make an argument. Say, oh, if you're at the back, never file an incident report. Sure, you won't make any friends if you file that incident report. I mean, maybe some friends over at Uses, but I think there's still a principle. I think if someone has negatively affected your race, I still think there is a reason to do it. Otherwise, you get weird situations like this, where some incidents will be reported, some won't. And in all honesty, I'm happy that it hasn't been reported, because it means that we might have a battle. But overall, I think maybe it's a bad precedent.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn towards the direction of me being in some, or quite a lot of ways, quite libertarian here. I'm gonna have to say that principle and that decision is entirely up to the Viaducton guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we should be judging them for anything that they choose to do in this, and definitely the reason why is they do not want to get involved in this, and they might feel that they slowed down excessively, and that was a fault of theirs. So that might be why they didn't want to report it, because they might have the opinion that they were equally at fault in this for slowing down way too much.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to point any fingers. And every time you point a finger, you have to remember that at least 3 of them is pointing back at yourself.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to have fingers pointed at me. I enjoy prodding into the discussions regarding incidents and laying a bit of blame towards the drivers. I think as long as it's a healthy discussion, which I think it is.
And a little bit of drama is always entertaining. We have to have that on track. The entire thing of this is built around drama and suspense. So don't do too much to kill that.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not around drama. I wouldn't say this is. Actually, speaking about drama, the windshield wipers are going. The windscreen wipers are out in force. It is raining as Spa-Francorchamps once again, Peter. And what could this mean for our LMP2 battle? Steen Prince leads by over a lap. But can Zoltan Varkoni in the wet weather conditions as he goes round the outside of the WOSR car? Zoltan Varkoni wasting no time at all. Last time round, he did a 2:09. Despite the rain about to start coming down, Zoltan Varkoni almost set his new best lap of the race. He was nearly 3 seconds quicker than Steen Prince. And I don't care what anyone says, I think this battle is going to go down to the wire.
Hey, Yusuf, this rain, I have to say, you are jumping on it like a woke journalist jumping on some celebrity using the wrong pronoun for a transgender person. This is
let's not go into that.
This is the lightest of the lightest rain, and it's not like if the radar is anything to go by. We know it's sometimes a little bit off tilt in the timing, but we did get the rain that we were looking forward to at the start of the race, so it's possibly going to reflect the radar once again. It's not going to be very much, and if it is a lot, it's going to be for a very short time.
I'd say I'm jumping on this as quick as a journalist jumps onto any form of a spat between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that would be.
It's probably a more appropriate and more politically correct thing to say on broadcast. But look, if I see windscreen wipers going, that means there's rain. That means it's getting more slippery. That means there is action to be seen out on track. Zoltan Varkoni over a lap behind Steen Prince. Also, this means that the stint lengths might get extended by a tiny amount, and it might be enough for Zoltan Varkoni to be able to scratch a pit stop off entirely. 2 minute 1.8 last time round, a second quicker than Steen Prince. He's not too far back. He's only a sector behind Steen Prince. Into Brussels goes Varkoni. Meanwhile, Steen Prince making his way through the right-hander that is Stavelot.
And this means Lappery is going to be a lot harder. That generally hits the faster cars the hardest, because those are the ones that are going to generally have to go offline into the wet parts of the track. So this is going to affect the LMP2 cars and the DPI cars by far the most. So yeah, as far as the excitement hitting in exactly the right place, you are exactly right, Yusuf. This is gonna affect the result of the race. It can't not. So yeah, exciting.
Well, it could not if Steen Prince still wins. Then
yeah,
I guess it has.
Extremely exciting to see how this whole thing will play out now. By the way, are we not 6 minutes late for an ad break because we had all of this drama?
Oh yes, we are late for an ad break. Ad break coming up, guys. Stay tuned. More action coming as we head into the final 2 hours of the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. You don't want to miss it.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, League Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back. Thank you for watching on whatever platform you're watching this on. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Motorvision.tv, and a whole bunch of other platforms. So you are about to witness a very, very exciting end of the race. We just saw, sadly, that the end of it, like the excitement is turned down just a little bit by it. It actually stopped raining again now, so my predictions about being a short drizzle was correct, but I think we might be in for more of these very short, small showers as well. Usually it does look like it on the radar, like a lot of very small rain sectors are moving in, and whether they hit or miss is
the rain clouds are dissolving before they reach the circuit. They empty out over whatever place is north of Spa-Francorchamps, probably Liège, and then they peter out.
They also pop up, so if you look at directly east of the track, there's a couple of showers that also pop up. This one's a tough call.
Yeah. It's a tough call indeed. But if you're Zoltan Varconi, you want the rain to come down. If you're Steen Prinz, you do not want that rain to be falling one bit. Ideally, if you're Zoltan Varconi, you want the rain to come down right after Steen Prinz rin. Replay?
This time it was with the leading car. It was not with the 95 car, but it was still that was Steen Prinz having to lap the Viaduct car, and there was a bit of indecisiveness again in the direction of the Viaduct car.
And that's why you say, if you're getting lapped, just stay on the racing line.
Yeah, be decisive in your choice of line. Yeah.
That's Unison in the background in their Aston Martin. They're leading the GT3 car, GT3 class. They dive on into the pits, and Uses continue to lead the way. Last time round, they put in a lap of a 2:05.7, mainly due to the time lost behind Viaducten. And Zoltan Varconi probably looking to do a 2:02 once again. He's making his way into that bus-up chicane. He's not far behind at all. He's less than a sector of Steen Prinz, and then a lap. Remember, the gap between himself and Steen Prinz was sitting at about, I want to say 100 seconds. No, I think it was down to about 80 seconds after the pit stop, maybe even less. I can't remember. Actually, no, it was down to 60 seconds. That's it. It was a minute. But that was after Steen Prinz had pitted. And Zoltan Varconi, this time round, a 2:02.5. He takes 3 seconds out of Prinz. Prinz making his way through Brussels. Zoltan Varconi over Radion. Honestly, half an hour, he's going to be on the back of him. And I know before I was commenting on the Deuce's driver not driving particularly quickly, and I was commenting on whether they needed to take him out of the car, bring another driver in. I would like to apologize for that, because I think honestly this is Deuce's just giving the order of do not drive fast.
Yeah.
Make it ensuring that the drivers take no liberties with revs, and saying we don't care if we lose 2 seconds a lap, you will not blow up the engine.
and sensibly so. And apparently, as it turns out, they've been doing that for most of the race. They only had short periods of really pushing the car, so very confident that if they nurse the car for the rest of the race, it will make it back home as the wheel is on. 17 is making its way out of the pit lane. That will be its second to last stop. They are going pretty far on a full tank of fuel, so he will only need one more stop before the end of the race. Do we have anybody else in the standings that are going to benefit from other people doing one less stop? No, there's no one else other than 1595 inside that one lap. Yep. Andreas Nygaard now in 199 for Anderson Sport. So he's out there lapping again. After that very unfortunate rejoining and incident.
Yeah, he might only be 156 laps behind of Wong Wei Xiong right now, so I don't think he can jump him. Although technically, if Wong Wei DNFs now, Andreas Nygaard, if he finishes the race, finishes ahead of him, I think, is the way it works, right?
No, that'll be judged on the distance covered.
So is it possible for Andreas Nygaard to be classified in this race?
Yes. He just has to cross the finish line, but everybody will be classified by the distance covered. The only thing that will be determined by you actually crossing the finish line at the end of the race is the 1 point for completing the race. So if you don't have your car rolling and crossing the finish line, then you won't get that 1 point. And that was my point about suggesting that that 1 point should be changed to something like 10 points for completing the race.
It's a lot of points, to be fair. It makes actually winning the race a lot less valuable, I feel. I mean, everyone gets the points at the end of the day.
But everyone that completes the race gets those points, so really, unless you don't complete the race, it's completely irrelevant.
I disagree, because I think, it's like the Robert Kubica incident. If you have a DNF at the end, why should a DNF on the last lap count for worse than a DNF in the middle of the race, right? If anything,
but then it won't use it, because then you'll just rejoin and cross the finish.
But no, because if you have a DNF on the last lap, you won't have time to be able to rejoin, get a new car, and complete the race.
Easily. The server is set to have everyone cross the start-finish line. So you just need, even if you cross the start-finish line in the pit lane, you still just have to drive outside your garage and just have... But
your pit box could be right after that start-finish.
Yeah, it's always, if you want to look at, borderline stuff that actually could happen, yeah, that is a possibility. But in that case, I actually think that the stewards would look at that and say, is that a fault of your own? That you're not completing this race, and should you be assigned the 10 points anyway?
I just feel like even if a team won, so let's say Steam Twins takes the win, and then there's a car a little bit down the road that loses it through Stavlo and hits the wall, loses a wheel, or through Oruch, whatever. They then have to leave the server, rejoin, then go all the way out. I don't think there's actually enough time for them to cross the line and be classified. And while it wouldn't fall off their own, I think it's very harsh that they lose all of the points lose so many points for not completing a race, despite having had no issues up until that point, potentially.
Well, that's my point exactly, because the stuff should be governed by logic and not necessarily the sort of staccato in-race system. So if you crash out a lap shy of the end of the race and don't have the time to rejoin, I'm pretty sure the race stewards are going to look at it and say, was that your fault that you didn't have the time to complete the race and have a rolling car to cross the start-finish line, or was that due to other stuff? and then have the points assigned, even if you don't cross the start-finish line, because it's all about the context and not about the specific actions that's happening.
I think it makes a lot more sense. Instead of saying that, if you just get the points, instead of for finishing the race, for being within 95 or 90% of the laps done by the leading car in your class, because that has effectively the same thing.
That has the same effect, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it means that if you can't leave the race after 2 laps and rejoin with 2 laps to go and then get a point for finishing the race as well, which I think is also a loophole in the finishing the race point system.
Yeah. Good point. I'll make sure to bring.
Oh no, we're now going to have 100 points for being within 90% laps of the leading car. Oh dear me. So, Spa-Francorchamps. I don't know what lap time he set last time around. It doesn't count, so it was an invalidation. A 2-minute 3.8 though is a lap done by Steen Prince. So you'd have to imagine that Marconi is still closing in. So where is Steen Prince? Steen Prince through Stavelo, Marconi, through the double left-hander that is Pouon.
Yeah, that is a lap and even less gap than it has ever been before. So yeah, the 95 is catching up quickly. And there's still an hour and 40 minutes left, so an entire Grand Prix race is still left on the clock.
Still a while. Spa-Francorchamps then, he gained 4/10 in the opening sector over Steen Prince. How has it gone for him in the middle sector? Exactly the same as Steen Prince. Does he come into the pits? No, he doesn't. Wait, Steen Prince needs to pit before Spa-Francorchamps anyway. So, remember we said 40 minutes for a stop, then 1 hour 20. So I'm expecting Steen Prince to pit in about 10 minutes time, and I'm expecting Spa-Francorchamps to be pitting in around 15 minutes time, maybe nearing 20 minutes. Honestly, Spa-Francorchamps, if that blow-up had happened for the 95 DAC hands, 3 laps later, I think they would have gained a pit stop over Steen Prince, and that is honestly such a shame for them.
Looking down at where the 26 and the 404 are in the GT3 class, 4 laps separating them right now. I have no idea where they are on pit stops, but it seems that the 26 was just completed its out lap, since they did a 2:55.1, and the lap before that was a 3 something, so they must have just had a pit stop, which means they're only left 1 pit stop now. The 404 might owe us 2, might only have 1 more pit stop. I don't know when that pitted last time, but still 1 extra pit stop for them with a 4 lap gap is really not a threat.
Well, just keeping an eye on Spa-Francorchamps still, because that's the only real battle to be watching. Everyone else is over a lap apart from each other. I mean, technically Spa-Francorchamps is a lap from Steen Prince, but I'm hoping that Spa-Francorchamps has 1 less pit stop to do. He gained a 2nd in the middle sector. So, Steen Prince through onto the Camel Straight, Spa-Francorchamps into the source.
Pro Sim and the 22 Union Sim Racing are only 2 laps apart as well, so they might be arguing that if any one of them has an incident, that would be deciding the race between those 2 as well, which I tend to agree with. So Pro Sim not without a chance of gaining that position on the 22 Newton car.
Well, last time round, 203.5 for Varkonyi, Verstappen at 204.2. Varkonyi going a little bit slower, I'm tempted to say, but he didn't have a bit of traffic to get through that time round.
Would he be?
I think at the very least, Varkonyi will unlap himself.
Yeah. Would Varkonyi be into a situation where he's realizing that he does have to fuel save just slightly to make it only 2?
It's not much. He just needs to gain about 2 laps over the next 1.5 hours, which is a little bit of lifting and coasting, maybe putting it into a slightly lower fuel mode, fuel mix, I should say. Zoltan Varkonyi will pass one of the GT cars, that's the Musto GTE, not quite sure which one of the two.
No, but that was definitely less aggressive than he was just 15 minutes ago.
Just taking time to have a collar, opening in some quick laps at 201.3 last time round.
That's not much in it. Right, 203 with him. Trying to fuel save the car as well, and the 203 for Steinprinz. Yeah, definitely he's fuel saving. He's going to let the Red Light Racing DPI by as well, because it's going to have higher top speed. He's stretching it now. If only I was capable of doing a proper spreadsheet right now, I would say exactly when it's okay for him to pit without having him fuel save on the next thing as well.
It's weird because usually we're used to the LMP who's doing 45-minute stints, but today it's in 40-minute stints, which is really odd. And with us not having, being able to do any stints and be able to actually view how long the stints have been. At least I can't see how long the stints have. I don't know if... I know Ewan finds out how long the stint lengths have been for different teams, but I don't quite know how to do that. So, it does mean that I'm having a little bit... Actually, wait, no, I think there is a way.
He's probably having a keen eye on the timing and just noting on a piece of paper for every team when the last pit stop, the lap numbers. Newcomer to the series, 4-1 Blue Steel Racing team getting well out of the way of the 95. They're not having anything mended in that fight, they're just staying out of it. I wonder how many of the teams on track know that it's a tight duel for the overall win right now, and how many of them are, keeping their eye out to not get in the way of that.
Yeah, well, again, just trying to keep an eye on Zoltan Varkonyi. 202.8 last time round, 203.2 for Steinprinz. Not a huge amount gained. I do wonder, is this a case of Zoltan Varkonyi maybe starting to save a little bit of fuel? Maybe it is time for me to do the old ride on board with Varkonyi and turn up the audio and have a little listen myself to see if there is any fuel saving going on, or at least any noticeable fuel saving. So let's just listen into the bus stop if he lifts or even through Blanchimont. Well, that was a four-wheel drift and a half. Okay, he's definitely not lifting and ghosting. He is properly pushing it.
He's short shifting. He's a little bit early on the upshifts. But that might be because the track is still just a slight bit slippery after the rain. He's still pushing Yusuf because he had his last lap time invalidated as well. I don't think he would be presented with a cut track if he wasn't pushing. He wouldn't go that close to the.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. Alright. So, the gap between Varconi and Steenprinz. 82 seconds now because Steenprinz has jumped on into the pits. But Varconi has not. Is it really 80 seconds? I thought the gap would be closer to 60 seconds at this point. Okay, wait, hang on.
It's 47.
Okay, 40 seconds. That makes a lot more sense.
48.
This means that with every stint that comes through, it's dropping by about 20 seconds. So, in about an hour, in about 40 minutes' time, that gap's going to be down to 20 seconds.
And the number that we are looking for is 1 hour, 20 minutes.
I don't think that's yes. I think the object for the 95 is to get just closer and closer to that 40-minute mark. Because before they were about, I think, 6 minutes away from it.
But we can agree that if they exit the pits this time around with less than an hour 20 on the clock,
they definitely only have one more stop to do, yes.
That means they made it. Okay, with that calculation, Yusuf, we are late for an ad break, and I think now is a perfect time to let our sponsors have a bit of airtime, so hang on. It's going to be an exciting finish to the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, the 5th round of the Endurance Racing World Championship. We'll be right back with you after this.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
We're back on it, Joseph.
Oh, hello everyone.
You didn't make it.
You didn't make it.
You went in at 1 hour 26.
I feel like he's getting closer to that 20 mark.
Yeah, he's stretching it, but he might have to fuel save slightly for the last both of them.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to write this down for once. 1 hour 26 is bettered.
Yeah. And it's lap number 629.
Right, there we go. Next time he pits, I will have it calculated beautifully.
This also means that Deuces is in for a splash at the end, just as you said.
Yep, Deuce is definitely going to be splashing at the end of this race.
And they just went by, put themselves up by a lap again. Raining again.
Yep, the rain's out. Is this good news for Steen Prince, or pardon me, for Zoltan Borkoni? Now, he's going to come out pits about 10 seconds behind Steen Prince, I reckon. So, Steen Prince into Brussels, heading into Le Con, Zoltan Borkoni. Okay, so it's more like 20 seconds. I think by the time Steen Prince jumps into the pits again, Borkoni will be ahead of him. I don't know if this is going to be a stadium finish. It will be if Borkoni has one less stop to do, but if he doesn't, yeah. But like, just imagine, Peter, this race is decided not that Borkoni had a engine blow up, not that DAC had to reset to pits, but because the lap they did it was 2 laps too early. That's literally it. That's what's going to determine this race.
That's a strange one to ponder. Yeah.
How bizarre. So for those joining in, DAC Hackers led this race. They were imperious all the way throughout. They started from the back of the LMP2 field due to, well, I think they would have qualified fairly high up in qualifying, but they left the server, didn't rejoin in time, and their lap time didn't count. So they started from the back. They climbed their way up to the front. They led by 40 seconds. They have been in control of the race ever since, never losing the effective lead until their engine blew up. After that, they rejoined as quickly as they could, and they have been hunting down the 15 Deuces with incredible pace. We're talking 3 seconds a lap nearly. But the issue for them is they have had to make one more pit stop than Juices due to the time at which the incident happened. Because when the incident happened and they went back out, they had a full tank of fuel. But if they had had that incident a couple of laps later, it would have meant they could have made it to the end with like 4 or 5 full-length stints. But as it is, they're going to need 5 full-length stints and then a splash and dash. Literally, they're going to finish 1 or 2 laps short, we think. It's going to be so close. And here at Spa, a very long pit lane as well. That splash and dash is going to cost them humongously. It's going to cost them probably a minute in time. Okay. So, Zoltan Varconi down. Let's see what his middle sector is looking like. This will be our first real representation how Varconi is doing this lap relative to Steen Prince. Well, he gained a half second in the opening sector. Middle sector, he's gained nearly 2 seconds. 56.0 for Steen Prince. 54.2. Where is Steen Prince, you ask? Going through Blanchimont. Where is Zoltan Varconi? Going through Stavolo. The entire back straight separates them. It is raining as well. We'll see whether the times do start to rise as well, whether the track is getting slower. I'm tentative to say that this is going to be a stadium finish because it's going to be so darn close. So this lap round then for Zoltan Varconi. It's another invalidated lap. He keeps getting these invalidated laps. He's pushing like absolute nuts right now as he flies past the DIS car into Eau Rouge. Steen Prince will just be at the end of this straight going towards Malmedy. There you go. He's losing time. 33 point. Well, actually, let's double check what that first sector is for Steen Prince. 33.6 for Steen Prince. Zoltan Varconi is a 33.0. Another 0.6 of a second in the opening sector of the lap. The rain is back here at Spa. And now it's stopped again. It's on and off, intermittent. It's light rain we're currently seeing. And if you're a fan of the 9.5, you want it to start raining slightly more heavily. You want it to rain after Steen Prince pits, ideally. Actually, if it just rains in general, it's perfect, because it will extend out the stints that little bit, and it will mean that Zoltan Varconi can make it to the end of the race with one more pit stop. Both drivers are hoping that their next pit stop will be the last. For Steen Prince, he definitely can't do it. Zoltan Varconi, if he can pit with about 42, 43 minutes remaining, I think he just will make it to the end of this race. 42 minutes is the target that you're looking for Zoltan Varconi. Pits 43, 44 minutes. I think that is just too late, or too early, I should say, unless he can do a huge amount of fuel saving at the end of his stint. So Steen Prince entering Malmedy, or heading down towards Brussels. Zoltan Varconi entering Les Combes. He's done such a fantastic job. All of the 95 DAC Hackers team has done so well. But is it going to be enough? They're sitting 5th in the championship against Juices, 16 points behind them. And if they could win, well, that'd be 7 points going their way. If they lose, they finish second, they lose 7 points, they fall 7 further points back. If DAC Hackers win this race, they have a huge chance of finishing second, maybe even winning the championship. Come the morning October.
That will depend on where Varga ends up.
I mean, let's be honest, if Varga's racing, nobody really has even a slight chance of winning the race. I mean, Nürburgring did happen.
Random.
Yeah.
Random is always going to be there.
I can't even remember what happened at Nürburgring.
Random is like that annoying guest that always shows up at the party without being invited.
I don't know, I wasn't invited to the party speaker, so I can't really relate to that.
You might be random then.
Wow, it's just self-depreciatory humour is continuing on the stream.
Logic then dictates that you might be random.
What's a party?
Yeah. What is a party? I just show other people's houses. Okay, whatever.
I was the guy in first year of uni because we all had a random house. They said we're having a party downstairs, lights off. I just walked in the middle of it, turned the light on to go get myself some food, usually some cereal, completely killed our atmosphere before turning the light off and leaving. Or leaving it until the light off.
Don't mind me, just having some cereal.
Find that they're doing some weird stuff with my cutlery that, I don't know, party people do. I'm like, leave my cutlery alone.
206.
So, last time round was Varkoni, a second quicker than Steen Prinz. He's gaining not quite as much as before. Ooh, Steen Prinz actually on the most recent lap did a 206.3, Varkoni a 202.2. That's over 4 seconds. And now, okay, Steen Prinz has just gone through Stavelo. Varkoni heading into Stavelo. It is getting closer and closer. We're talking about 10 seconds separating the two now. And then they will be on the same lap. Remember I said the positions will switch around, or more specifically, Varkoni will be on the lead lap by the time these two head into the pits. And Steen Prinz, I think, needs to fight this position as hard as he can. I think it just gives that extra little bit of security for users the longer they can keep the 95 behind them.
Yeah, but I'm just curious what we do when he's on our ass, because he's gonna be. And
they're talking about what they're gonna do, or what these AC cars on the ass, because he's gonna be. That's a direct quote from the team radio.
Yeah. No, but they need to gain like 2 seconds on that, and they're not doing that.
They will gain 4 seconds a lap, and there's nothing they can do about it. That's what they're saying.
It's like 2 minutes. So when he gets like 2 years.
Wait, so they think they need 4 seconds lap to win?
They think they're going to need to push the car harder, and they are arguing amongst themselves whether that's a good idea.
You have more than a lap advantage, and then you have an hour.
Honestly, I fully see this race ending with Varkoni leading at the end, trying to save fuel, and then running out of fuel on the last lap, or 2 laps to go. I kind of see it being a possibility as well. Because if they pit, they've lost, so they might as well just try to keep it out there. And hope that miraculously some fuel gets added to the car somehow. I mean, if that did happen, I think there would be a bit of an inquiry as to how the car made it to the end, but let's see.
So it's Steen Prinz in the car, and he's arguing that at the current pace, the DAC car is going to be up their bum before the end of the race, to put it a little bit more nice than he said. And I think it's turned lower on the radio, telling him that actually he has more than a lap advantage. I think he's saying that.
So the argument,
because he doesn't have a lap advantage because they will need a splash and dash by the end of the race.
Well, the argument is if they can save fuel, they don't need to do a splash and dash, and then yes, they are a lap ahead. But the question is, can they save that fuel? For me, if you are the users, just push. I think
he's gonna to make it from now on and until 45 minutes remaining on the clock on this stint in order for that to be true. Do you believe that?
Well, it's going to be close. I think, judging from when Steenprinz previously pitted for Juices, they're going to be pitting with 50 minutes left in the race. Considering their pace, if they're saving fuel, maybe that drops down to 47 minutes, and then they could squeeze it out to the end. But even if they do a splash and dash at the end, they're going to, save about 20 seconds in their pit stop, so they'll still be ahead of DEAC. And don't forget, Juices are quick, right? They were closing in to DEAC hackers before, but they're saving fuel now. Yeah. So it's
push that car under no circumstance whatsoever will they push that car. They will have to wait until what is 9 laps to 18 minutes, 20 minutes remaining, and then they'll be free to push. Because if the car blows up by that time, they will not be able to lose second place to Pedro Ramada in the Ramada motorsport car.
In all honesty, Peter, I think they're going to need to push earlier, because if they don't, they might lose the win. And even if they have a car blow up now, they'll be fine. They'll be able to get back in before Ramada catch up to them. So there's no point trying to save your race if you're going to lose the position anyway. And they're not at threat from third. It's just second.
The best thing they can do is start pushing right now.
I agree.
Hard as they can. Because if it blows up now, it doesn't matter in the end anyway. Because it would have done by the end anyway. And if it blows up now, they'll still have the pit stop. They will go back to having the pit stop advantage as well. And then it'll just be full-on race till the end.
Yep. Well, Varkoni only 3/10 quicker, or 4/10 quicker than Prince last time round. Prince, he's on the camel straight, and you'll see Varkoni appearing in the back shot any moment now. I don't think we quite caught him. Oh no, we did. That was Varkoni.
That was him.
Varkoni can see Prince. Oh, things are starting to spice up. This isn't for position. It is to unlap himself, but we think Steenprinz has an extra pit stop to do. At the very least, he's definitely got an extra splash and dash to do, but the question is, does Varkoni need to do a splash and dash at the end? If he doesn't, it's got to be incredibly tight. If he does, Steenprinz and the Juices Motorsport Club should have this race, and it all comes down to when that final pit stop occurs.
This is nerve-wracking.
Imagine if you were the team manager.
Team manager, I wouldn't really mind being Steenprinz in that car right now. I would mind. I would be questioning, why do I keep getting into these sim races? Why do I keep pressuring myself like this? Because that's actually a thing. Because that's mostly why I don't drive very much anymore. Because I like to drive for fun, but I can't help taking it way too serious once I get in the car, and then I'll be questioning myself every time. Why do you put yourself under this pressure? I wouldn't like to be Steenprinz now. Definitely not. I could think of a million better places to be than in that Deuces Motorsport Club car right now.
Absolutely agree on that.
And
all the pressure is on him.
On the radio as well, he doesn't have the confidence that he's going to be able to make it. He literally does not have the confidence that he's going to make it. I think it's Turn Lower on the pit radio directly commanding him to just follow the tactic and relax and save the car. But Turn Lower is definitely believing that they can do this.
right then. It's starting to hot up more and more. Let's jump back on board with Zoltan Varkonyi. I think that is the thing to do, because Steen Prinz, well, you see Varkonyi going into the double gauche. Oh, there's a moment on the rear. He catches it. I thought he had lost it for a second.
Oh, it's slippery. It's a bit slippery because of the on and off rain that's been going on for the last half an hour.
As we've been saying before, Varkonyi is pushing. He gained, how much time did he gain in the opening sector? He went purple in the opening sector. He gained 4/10. Middle sector, exactly the same, and that is probably going to be somewhat due to losing the back end. Actually, no, never mind. Steen Prinz only doing a 55.4 in that middle sector. And Varkonyi doing a 54.8, gaining 6/10. And you can see Juices. You can see the Juices car up ahead.
Yeah,
so not even a straight between the two of them now. What a drive from DEAC and Zoltan Varkonyi, as well as everyone who's been in that car. But it might be Varkonyi that gets the plaudits, that brings it home. The question is it enough for the DEAC hackers? 24 hours of racing, and it's all going to come down to the final hour. Incredible stuff. Through Eau Rouge into Radion. We've seen plenty of people pinning it over the crest so far today.
Who's that? Someone on the come straight. They just passed the parked car.
That looked like Prosim to me.
Oh, and they were only 2 laps behind the Mugen car. They were in it with a chance that if Mugen didn't do anything.
Yep,
yeah,
it was Prosim.
Car, yeah.
I'm going to quickly get a replay up and then jump back to catch Zoltan Varkonyi, presumably overtaking Steen Prinz.
We'll have a split screen going here while you're trying to figure out what happened there.
I'm going to get a replay going, but I think I keep on pressing the wrong button. Okay, I'm failing at it. So
Prosim is DNF, so I think they might have handed in the towel.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
That does mean that the 401 of racing is going to catch up and pass them. They're only 2 laps behind.
Zoltan Varkonyi is closing in.
Ooh, there's a moment for one of the satellite racing cars in the background of Stan Prinz there.
So, Zoltan Varkonyi, last time round, he's going to pump in a 2-minute what? 2-minute 2-0. Oh boy, Zoltan Varkonyi is pumping in the laps. He's gone 1 second quicker than Steen Prinz that time round. Came up as purple on my screen, so got very excited, but then I realised it wasn't actually a purple lap.
Satellite racing cars trying to get themselves set up to give by the Deuces car as fast as they possibly can.
Okay, I've got the on board with Prosim ready to go. 5th gear. They hit 6th, and they just go. They downshifted all the way to neutral. What? I've never seen that before.
And he's trying to reverse and go forward. He's driving again now.
Did they intentionally try to blow up the engine?
Something else is the matter. No, he went to neutral.
Yeah, but he downshifted all the way. He downshifted to 5th, then to 3rd, and that was bizarre. It's almost like he was using an H-pattern gearbox.
That would be if he had a neutral button. He would have just pressed it because something else was wrong.
Well, take a look at Varkonyi.
They might have had some kind of other hardware failure. But we don't know.
But anyway, look at Varkonyi, because the car directly ahead is Deuces. It is their rival team they're battling with for the win. They are a lap down. How quickly can they unlap themselves? They might be a hit stop ahead. And how this all pans out is going to be thrilling. 15 minutes until we are expecting Deuces to jump here on into the pit lane.
This could turn out here very quickly. This does not need to trigger any kind of incidents or anything. What will Deuces do now that he's at the back? I mean, it's advantage to them anytime that they can like get in the way of the 95 and slow them down. That would be a good thing. But then again, if that causes any kind of incident for them, that is very bad. Very, very bad indeed. They cannot afford that.
Oh, he's right on the back. He's right on the back going into Les Combes. Is this a moment for Varconi to get back onto the lead lap? Remember, he still finishes second this race if he has to make 2 more pit stops. We're fairly certain that Deuces have to do 2 more stops. But Varconi and the 95 of DAC Hackers are right on the bubble.
Sensible thing for him to do is just to get out of the way. Don't get in the way of the 95.
When you say that, I think Deuces will be wanting to do everything to get in the way of the 95 car and holding him back for as long as possible. This is first and second.
If that causes an incident, that's all the cutlery thrown out the door and everything smashed up and done over, dusted.
Well, that is racing, Peter, and there is usually something being smashed by someone at some point. But right now, it does not seem that Zoltan Varconi can find a way through. Got to find... Oh, it gets really close to the back of the Musto car. At the onboard. Well, that
gave Stuntwitness a moment to breathe. That distance is setting up the 95 for about a perfect overtaking on the Camel Straight. We know he has the top speed advantage. Off about 10 kilometers per hour. And definitely if he's in the slipstream here. He's not going to want to be too close right now, because then he'll catch up at the bottom of the Rouge. He doesn't want to do that. No, I think the 95 car is actually slowing down. Yeah, he is. He's going to stay behind.
Wow. And that might cost them the race, who knows? If they can't get ahead here, and they have to fuel save after.
Depends on what they got figured out. Is he using the slipstream now to improve his own fuel economy? That would be a very, very wise trick to do now.
Yep, we do see it. Sometimes we see some bump drafting going on. No bump drafting here, but he just needs to save about, and this is over the last few hours, he's just need to save himself about 3 laps worth of fuel. It's entirely doable. But if he doesn't do it, they don't win the race. It's as simple as that. But we are at the hour mark, so we're going to be jumping on into a commercial break, and when we return, we will continue following this battle into the last hour of the Spa 24 hours of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Got by during the break, and I've got the instant replay right here to prove it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, my internet died, so I would love to be able to see how the DEAC hackers were able to find a way through.
Right now.
So let's see. Here's the instant replay. They get a tow. They decide they don't want to be saving fuel behind the other LMP2 car, behind GTE Motorsport. They go down the inside. Easy as you like. Job done. Varconi onto the lead lap. But now 2 minutes behind.
Yeah, but they're flying.
Okay, so let's look at this realistically, right? Even if, let's say they both have to make the same number of pit stops from here, we've got 50 minutes remaining, which is equivalent to about, let's say, 26 laps. So he's going to need to be gaining around about 3 and a bit seconds per lap if he wants to jump Steen Prince. Also, he'll have a slightly shorter pit stop. Yeah, and also because Varconi has slightly less fuel to put in the car, he'll probably gain about 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds there. So Varconi, if he can gain 3 seconds a lap, every lap, he can beat Steen Prince even if they both have to make the same number of pit stops from this point. I think it's unlikely, but it is possible.
Oh, I think anything.
So, Steen Prince, we're expecting to pit in 5 minutes time. Zoltan Varconi, we're expecting him to pit somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. And depending how far he goes, he will not have to make another stop. He last pitted with 1 hour 26 minutes remaining. So, if he can pit again with 43 minutes remaining, he would have halved that, which means he can make it to the end. Even if, I want to say there's 44 minutes remaining, I think he can do it. It's possible. It's going to be so, so close. And I also think once Steen Prince does pit, he's going to come out of the pits only about 10-15 seconds ahead of Varconi.
No matter what.
Maybe not even that.
This one's going to go down to the line. This is going to be everything those two drivers do now is that is going to affect the end result of this. It's that close. Any one of them put a wheel in the grass, lose a couple of seconds anywhere, that might be the decider now. We're down to that.
So, Steen Prince, last time round.
This lap or the next for the pit stop for Steen Prince. a 2:02 for Marconi and 2:03.2 for Spa-Francorchamps. Marconi just continues to be the faster, and that Spa-Francorchamps into the pits. And we've lost usage again for the commentary, but that confirms it. Spa-Francorchamps will need an extra pit stop. He didn't even make it to the 50-minute mark. Calculating from the gap, I think...
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. I think we can safely say now, because of the development of Spa-Francorchamps being in the pits now, he does need a splash. And the EAC hackers won't need a splash.
Well, I don't know. Will the EAC hackers need a splash? How long can they stay out for? It's going to be tight.
They will need to stay out until the 45-minute mark, so that's 6 more minutes, that's 3 laps.
Also, is it going to be a special dash for Steam Prince, or is he going to put in less fuel now and just put in enough fuel to go halfway? Maybe putting in less fuel might be...
Put on less, change tires now, less fuel, and have a very, or kind of a medium length fuel stop at the end, and then not change tires.
Also, those tyres will be fairly worn come the end of the race as well.
Doesn't matter, he won't need to go fast, he'll just need to stay on track for as long
We
as
say
possible.
he won't need to go fast, but he'll need to defend from Zoltan Varkonyi.
Will not be able to, no matter what, he won't be able to.
Say that, uses are fast, and I think when it comes to it, when push comes to shove, I think they'll be able to push themselves back a little bit. Right now, it's engine management, it's race management mode for them.
Effectively, that Bruce's car has been on track for 23 hours and 10 minutes. That the EAC Hackers car has been on track for 2 hours. Advantage to the EAC.
I don't think it affects performance, it just affects the likeliness of the car blowing up. Or the engine blowing up.
I'm not sure.
But I might be wrong on that bit, I don't know. Because if it doesn't affect performance, if it just affects the reliability, we know uses, we've seen uses match the pace. We've seen Steenprinz match the pace of the number 95 car and actually close in. So I think they can turn it up. But right now, they are waiting until there is no other option apart from turning things up.
But are you entertained? Are you hanging on to the edge of your seat like this is? I'm surprised we don't have more people in here accusing us of scripting these races.
I don't think anyone accuses us of scripting, sadly. If we had scripting, I would want to see more action. I don't want this just in the LMP2 class, I want this in multiple classes.
Oh, that would be so confusing.
Okay, so, Steenprinz has made a pit stop. He is 10 seconds ahead of Zoltan Varkonyi. And this is, I think, how it will be, minus a splash and dash. So, add on another 15 seconds to this, and this is the effective gap. We're expecting Varkonyi to be pitting in around 4 or 5 minutes time. He's in the pits now. Oh no.
Oh no.
It's over. I think that's it. I don't think it is possible for Varkonyi to win this race. He's come in the pits way too early.
He'll have to stretch the last...
He can't.
No,
he's only done 38 minutes on this stint. I don't think he can do 48.
He'll be in incredible trouble if... he'll be in incredible trouble if the Deuce's car makes it across the finish line with like 10 seconds on the clock, so they'll have to go an entire extra lap.
I mean, you say that, but I don't think this car can go to the end from here. They have to do another stop. They've only done 38 minutes with this tank of fuel, and they've got 48 minutes ahead of them.
Yeah.
They've pitted the lap after Juices, so if they make it to the end, surely Juices can make it to the end as well.
You say that, yes.
right now, Zoltan Varkonyi, he's got to put in the stint of his life. We know he's been pushing like crazy. Well, now he's got to be banging in those 2-minute ones every single lap. That's the only way for the DAC Hackers to take the win. It would be their first win of the season as well. And for the Deuces Motorsport Club, their first win. Neither side, neither team has had anything better than a second. DAC Hackers getting that second at Sebring. Deuces Motorsport, a couple of third place finishes at Silverstone, at Sebring as well. And for DAC, will they fall one position short once again? Zoltan Varkonyi out of the pits now. GTE Prince coming out of turn 1. So, 46 minutes remain, pretty much, as Varkonyi comes out of the pits.
He's going to have to stretch this sprint by 2 laps.
I think that's too much of an ask. I think they've given up. The fact that they pitted the lap they did and not 1 lap later shows that they don't think they could go to the end. If they had gone 1 lap further, then we'd be talking about there being 44 minutes on the clock with them coming out the pits, and I'd say, okay, it's possible. Maybe.
And still though, Yusuf, if Deuces reach the finish line at a point of time left on the clock where they need to go an entire extra lap, that's not 2 laps he needs to stretch it, that's 3 laps he needs to stretch this. No, that's not going to happen.
So, through Pouhon goes Dean Prince. Out of the final chicane comes Varkonyi. 110 seconds behind, 45 minutes on the clock. The equivalent of 21 laps, maybe 22.
I want to listen in on the Deuces radio channel.
I think there isn't anything barring a reliability failure for Deuces that will prevent them from taking the win. I think this one is done now.
Oh, he's sensible. We will start to see the lap times climb, because he doesn't need to do anything about 205s or something like that. That's way enough. He still has an advantage of 115 seconds.
I should think it's 6 minutes over race match.
Yeah, all the teams saying it's just more race.
Okay.
They are starting to believe that one.
Deuces on the hunt for their first win of the season. The best result up until this point. A 3rd place finish. I don't actually know where Henry Sinnick is. Is Henry Sinnick on the same lap as Varkonyi, or is he a lap down?
It's on lap 646. Franklin's on lap 649. Varkonyi is on 648.
Well, we're going to have one of those situations where the overall race winner is not from the fastest class. It will be the LMP2 car.
You know, I did
take things
somewhere between 650 and 660 laps. That's going to be pretty close.
Peter on spot with his predictions. Now, let's see what the laps from Varkonyi have been. The sector time from Varkonyi, sadly, not much quicker than Dean Prince. Only a couple of tenths faster in each sector.
That's not gonna work.
And at the end of the lap, he's only gone 1 second faster. 2:01.5 for Steam Prinz, a 2:02.6.
They both need that extra pit stop. So, he's in for a short one. Regarding the fuel, DAC is in for an even shorter one at some point. So, really, DAC cannot afford to not just hang it all out there. They need to just be flying right now.
Well, they are pushing 2:01.5s, less than a second off their personal best. Less than a second off the fastest lap of the race, which was set by Nuno Pinto, who is back at the wheel of the Ramada Motorsport car, 57.
Even though we have a notion that we know what's going to happen here, I still can't believe that this is what it comes down to.
Yeah, it literally comes down to an engine blow up 2 laps too late, 2 laps too early. That is what has stopped DAC hackers from taking the win. Not the fact that they had the engine blow up, it's just that it happened 2 laps too early. And that is a crazy, crazy thought to think.
That's heartbreaking. And the difference in strategy here right now, because the one team can't afford to go too fast and make mistakes, because that will ruin their chances. The other team can't afford to go too slow and needs to absolutely push with the risk of making mistakes. So it's completely opposite strategies now.
It's weird how tables do turn.
Imagine if the AC hackers would have been able to make it just one more lap on that pit stop. Just one more lap.
I mean, I feel like 1 lap wasn't enough. I feel like it had to be 2 laps. Because if they'd gone 1 lap, it meant that they would have only done 40 minutes on their stint, and then they would have had another 44 minutes to do. And I just feel like that's too short.
They would have had to do 1 more lap on that stint and 1 more lap on the last stint. But then again, if Deuces crossed the finish line with them having to do that extra lap on top, then they wouldn't have been able to make it, most likely, anyway. So, and that would have actually meant, users, that we would be in the situation where they would run out of fuel on the last lap, and it wouldn't be able to cross the finish line, and wouldn't get the point for crossing the finish line. And if that had been 10 points, I get your point about the somewhat 90 something percent.
Yeah. Well,
because they actually did the entire race except for the last
half a lap, yeah.
Half a lap, which actually happened to one of the two cars in the real life Le Mans last weekend.
Yeah, it was a car, right?
Ended up being disqualified.
Yeah. Which I think is just completely wrong, to be honest.
That is a really weird rule.
You can be on the last lap, leading by over a lap, but run out of fuel, so you get disqualified even though the leader of the other class finishes the race.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had run out of fuel on the previous lap, then it would be all fine.
Yeah. You did actually cover the most ground in 24 hours, but because you didn't cross the finish line, it's as if you didn't even participate.
That just feels counterintuitive to me anyway, but I'm not exactly a die-hard endurance racing fan, so I'm sure die-hard endurance racing fans might disagree with me on that opinion.
I did say I think it's a matter of opinion. I think that's entirely down to personal preference.
Yeah.
iRacing, nope, it's Alpha 2 as well, 6 points out. Johnny Lowe says, stop spying on us. Are we listening in on the radio channel? Well, it's not it's not spying. He knows by the smiley as well. We're trying to make it as entertaining for the dear viewer as we possibly can.
I mean, he just needs to adopt the Mustard tactic and the tactic of other teams, which is speaking a different language. Then we'll have no idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Just start inventing their own language and speak gibberish. But then again, it would just be like Formula One, where everyone is dictated to speak English on the radio. You can't speak any other language. If you do, you get fined.
Yep.
That's also, it's quite reasonable since, you know, the entire radio communication, being able to use that in the broadcast is a very big part of making it entertaining for the viewers, and since that is what's really making the money in the sport, it doesn't make much sense to try and hinder that. Like you're only shooting your own foot. Yeah.
Well, not much time left now. Talking about just over half an hour. Turn lower saying we can speak Dutch if really needed. Do it. Just so we can hear the Dutch and broadcast and make fun of it. I'll quickly drag in Alex Goldschmidt or one of my Belgian friends to translate, and we're all good.
We'll just run it through the direct text translate, and Google will give us a rough estimate on what has been said, which will be very possible.
They'll probably be blaming us. They'll probably be making comments about the broadcast, I think, if they do speak in Dutch. Just poking fun.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I feel like we've been robbed, Peter.
I don't. I feel like we've been having an absolutely insane 24 hours of racing, and I feel that this duel has been going on for 12 hours or something.
12 hours? It's been going on for 22 hours.
Yeah, but before that we had even more cars involved in it as well.
True. Ramada and Mugen, to be precise.
The one I feel particularly robbed about is the Axel Racing HyperCar.
I think they would have won, to be honest.
Well, with the amount of random in this race, I am having a hard time.
I think in terms of pace, I think they were the fastest guys, handedly. But they just struggled at the start, and then they retired, and they had no need. They shouldn't have retired. But it happens. We see it from time to time.
It's probably down to you in the series, and perhaps it's the excitement.
I mean, they threw a chance of winning the entire series with that decision.
Yeah, perhaps it's the excitement and the habit of just pressing escape when something like that happens.
Oh yeah, they pressed escape, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
They didn't actually. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I take back what I said. That was incorrect.
And it's all coming back to the game program, to making the escape button have that effect during a race, that if you press that, it's I don't want to race anymore. Which is not a button that should be existing. There shouldn't be a button anywhere that triggers I don't want to race anymore. Especially not on a server where rejoin during racing is allowed. Those two things kind of clash and don't make sense together.
Well, we are reaching the half-hour point, which means there is only half an hour remaining in the race, so we will be jumping on into our final commercial break of the afternoon of the weekend. So do stay tuned, and we will be returning with 30 minutes more action and a roundup of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5 from Spa-Francorchamps.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Lead Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back, folks, as we are jumping on into the final 30 minutes of round 5 of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And what a race it has been. Steen Prinz leads from Zoltan Varkonyi. These two have been battling with each other effectively for such a while, but your hypercar class, Henry Sinnick leads ahead of Ian Piper. It's Satellite Racing 1-2 Viaducten in P3. Sadly for Axel Sport, they had a DNF early on into the race, and they have been unable to rejoin us. But the LMP2 is where the action has all been. Steen Prinz leading from Zoltan Varkonyi by just over 100 seconds. 30 on the clock. Nuno Pinto in third for Ramada Motorsport. Just to clarify, Steen Prinz in the 15, Juices Motorsport 95 of DEAC Hackers in second. David Kolaksai in P4 in the LMP2 class from Mugen Sim Racing. And then you got Pro Sim a little bit further back. And Wong Wei Xiong, the last running LMP2 car, as we saw the 199 coming out on circuit, but retired not long after. In the GTE class, it was a close battle between Tiziano Brioni and Jordi San Andres for a while, but Jordi San Andres then had an incident through Eau Rouge, and since that point has been trailing. It's a 1-2 for Musto, the 18 from the B team, with WOSR sitting in third, and then a long way down to DISSR Lab in P4. Moving on to the GT3 class, Alexei Mizin has been impervious, leading for Unison Racing in the red Aston Martin. 9 laps clear of Jakub Kowalski in the 404 Glam Racing car, and then a further 4 laps clear of Cyril Malbrun. Cyril Malbrun actually ahead of Jakub Kowalski for a while before losing his rear wing and then having another incident and losing his rear wing again. And rounding out the GT3 class is Martin Militai in the 41 car, 22 laps behind Cyril Malbrun, 35 laps off the lead of the GT3 class. And in terms of the championship, what does this mean? Satellite Racing will still be leading the DPI championship ahead of the sister team and Viaductin in third. In the LMP2 class, Varga will be leading their championship and their class ahead of, well, at the moment it's Mugen Sim Racing, but I think after this is all said and done, I'm just going to double check this for you all. It will be 13 points going over to Juices, so it will be tied between Juices and Mugen. I think Juices actually ahead because they have had a second place as well as what will be a win. So Juices will lead the championship ahead of Mugen Sim Racing. Then you will have Ramada Motorsport ahead of the EAC Hack. So second to fifth, pardon me, will get much closer. But Varga Sim Racing will still be leading. In GTE class, Mosto will extend their lead to WOSR Izone Performance. Mosto GD will, or the second Mosto team will close into DIS. They won't be able to jump ahead, but instead of 12 points separating them, it'll be something around the lines of 9 points, there or thereabouts. And in the GT3 class, Unison Racing will extend their lead massively to Mugen Sim Racing. Glam Racing will close in on to 1 move but will not jump ahead. And that is the roundup of the race standings of the championship standings. And with that, we have about 25 minutes remaining in the race. Not long at all. Falconi and Prince are still out on circuit. We wait for them to make their pit stops. We're expecting Prince to pit a little bit earlier than Falconi, and it might just be in the final 10 minutes of the race as well. It's also looking from the weather forecast like we aren't in for any more rain before the end of the race, which is quite nice to see. It means things that get to stay nice and dry for us. But 99 seconds for Falconi, I don't think he's going to be clawing this one back. If he does, it would be absolute insanity. But I don't know. They
still owe us a pit stop. Both of them.
Yeah. They owe us a pit stop, but nothing more.
Are there?
And it's the same for both.
Are there any in-game bad mechanics that can't figure out how to
do a wheel
nut?
No, this isn't Formula 1 or McLaren. I say McLaren, it was Haas actually who couldn't get a wheel nut on. It was the same mechanic who struggled to get the wheel nut on in 2 consecutive pit stops, resulting in both Haas's DNFing from points finishing positions in the opening race of the year. Arguably one of the...
Motorsport and then getting into what is possibly a fight for a second and trying to push off the EAC Hackers car. What was that all about?
I did not see.
Well, if you pay attention now and put it up on the replay.
Well, let's see exactly what Peter Moncombe was talking about. Side by side.
What is this about?
Let's see Martin Motorsports. Ooh, little bit of contact. It's just, he just got on the power a bit earlier and wasn't expecting the EAC car to be as slow. And now they're battling again. Varconi on the back of Ramada. And the nose to tail, line of stern, will run into the chicane.
Well, it is Nuno Pinto in the Ramada car. And according to the fastest lap time, he's the fastest guy on the track.
Yes.
So,
he's the fastest guy completely with the exception of Ian Pfeiffer. But Ian Pfeiffer in a different car.
Yeah, he's in a DPI car with a bit more horsepower. But the stability of the 15 and the 95 car, well, apart from the 95 car blowing up their engine, well, it's been impeccable. Like, those two teams have been just cream of the crop when it comes to stability. They are really just running like Swiss clockwork. Because in theory, you know, all of the DPI cars are capable of going faster than any of the LMP2 cars now that they're running the hypercar spec. So they're not the overall leaders by accident. They're there by effort.
Well, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the race. Things are becoming a little bit clearer and clearer.
Well, right now, Spa-Francorchamps has 99 problems in terms of 99 seconds that he has to pick up in some kind of magic way in order to make his way past the number 15. And the way it looks is both cars also pit stop. So
yep.
The likelihood of that happening is diminishing every second.
It's been a good fight, a good attempt from Varconi, but sadly not quite enough for them. That may change, though. We'll have to see.
In terms of things happening, it's been an exciting race, overall unpredictable. Except for Henrik Hoyer from the McLaren Racing team, who predicted that they would he was very sure that they would end up in second place. And that was when they were in third place, 2 laps down. He predicted that they would end up in second place, which is so brave. That's a brave comment when you
confidence is key, isn't it?
It must have been. Well, to be honest, the 26 didn't end up that far behind the Glam Racing car completely on their own accord. They had an accident first that was of their own making, and then they were kind of involved in some shady business with the Deuces car.
Yep. Well.
But then again, the EEWC Hackers car was involved in some very shady business into Lecombe with the Viaduct number 1 car as well, which the Viaduct team chose to not report because they considered it just a racing incident.
Yeah. So. Well. It's weird how it's all planned out. In the end, Viaduct's decision not to report the incident has not affected anything. If anything, it gave us false hope for a little bit longer. Well, it gave us hope. It turned out to be false hope at the end of proceedings. Still though, we have seen carnage. We have seen chaos in the final 20 minutes of previous endurance races. We've seen chaos in the final couple of minutes of endurance races. This race not necessarily over just yet. For all you know, you could be seeing that Deuces Motorsport car in a wall with 2 minutes to go, and having to limp around the track, losing 15 seconds a lap. Almost somewhat akin to when Lewis Hamilton had that puncture in Silverstone last year and had to limp to the end of the race with Max Verstappen hunting him down.
You pointed out several times now, Yusuf, but the fact that EEWC are not losing the win now because they blew an engine, but because they blew the engine 2 laps too early, which made them have to do this splash and dash pit stop. If they didn't have to do that splash and dash, they would have won it. So if they blew the engine 2 laps later, that would have meant the EEWC would have taken.
The other interesting thing that would have happened as well is it would have meant that, so if Deuces had to do a normal pit stop, they would have come out about 10 seconds behind Zoltan Varconi. But in that scenario, as Steen Prince comes into the pits, but in that scenario, because they would have been doing a splash and dash, they would have saved about 20 seconds of their pit stop. So they still would have been 10 seconds clear of Varconi after the pit stop, and then it would have been a real hunt in the dying moments of the race. So it's a shame because it could have been so exciting, and it would have meant Deuces would have had to push, then there would have been a chance of maybe some issues, some reliability issues for them. But Sadly, none of it has come to pass.
This should mean that if McLaren doesn't pit on this lap, he will, or should be, ahead of, or yeah, he should be ahead of the motorsport car when it comes out of it. By the time that pit stop. We know exactly how long time he's parked. If he changes tires, it's going to take him the first 25 seconds to change the tires.
Well, I doubt there's going to be...
18 seconds, exactly 18 seconds, so he did not change tires. He's on a set of used tires now, and he will have just taken 18 seconds of fuel. That'll be his splash with a bit of margin, so he's sure he has maybe 2 laps more than he actually needs.
I think that fuel hose already entered into the car before it was taken back out, pretty much. I think it's, well, slight exaggeration, but yeah, it's somewhat true.
I really hope for the Newses guys now that they did really nurse that car for the entire race, because if the engine blows up now, that is going to be close.
Right, so last time round, 202.2 for Falconi, 214.3 from Stein Prince, because he did have to enter into the pit lane, so that is as expected. But if you look at the sectors themselves, to be honest, Falconi is not closing in. I think Falconi has given up.
Yeah, he's not even ahead. He's 22 seconds behind and needs to do an extra pit stop.
I mean, we were expecting him to be behind though, right? Because it's splash and dash, so you're not in the pits for as long. And this is what would have made it interesting, because Falconi still would have been pushing a lot more. So it would have been a bit closer, but then we would have had a hunt at this point to the end of the race, a 15-minute hunt for Falconi. But as things have panned out, it didn't really matter if Falconi had an extra stop or not. When he comes out of the pits, he's going to be nearly 2 minutes behind Falconi. It's going to be, well, maybe about 1.5 minutes if he's lucky. And it is a shame for the AT Hackers, as we've mentioned, they've not made a mistake all race. Been similar for Uses, they've not made a mistake either, but they've been a little bit slower than DAC. They've been a little bit more caring of their car as well, and in the end that has been what has saved them.
Yeah, Stein Prince must have renewed confidence in his team now, because I believe it was turned lower in the pit as the engineer that he just kept telling him that it was going to be okay and he had more than a minute's advantage, and that actually turned out to be true. So they, like, the turn lower would have had absolute confidence that the DAC Hackers car couldn't make it with that one less stop. That was why he was telling Stein Prince that they were fine and they were going to win it. And he knew that already 2 hours ago when Stein Prince was, well, he was definitely not confident that he was able to pull off the win. So unless the car breaks down now inside the last 13 minutes, that's going to be Stein Prince crossing the finish line first.
It's always weird as a driver to have a thought on how the race is going to pan out.
There's enough time to just wait behind the 45 car. He just slowed down and did wait until it was safe to pass.
It's always tempting as a driver, you hear that your team gives you some information, but you think, oh no, that doesn't make sense to me, and you end up doing your own strategy when maybe you should have just listened to your team from the get-go. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've had those moments as well where you just think that you know better than the team. Sometimes it turns out well, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, this has, in any case, been a wonderful 24 hours at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. We've had rain, we've had lots of incidents, some of them just, yeah, a lot of them actually just random stuff happening. I don't even think for 20-something cars on the track, I don't even think there's been that many incident reports. So well-behaved drivers in general this time around. I know some of the drivers in the heat of the moment will disagree with that, but you know, the way to really judge the quality of a race in regards of driver quality is always to look at the number of race incidents as compared to the number of participants, and it's quite low for a 24-hour race. So yeah, it's been in general well behaved.
I think half those incidents happened in Eau Rouge as well. Then we had a few in Blanchimont. I think 1 or 2 happened through Learning Corner. But that's been the majority. I think we had a couple through Pawn as well, rather recently. Too. That was actually involving the Viaduct was actually heading in towards the corner at the end of Kemmel Straight. I always forget it. I don't know why. It's just...
You had a good point yesterday evening about when all the incidents were happening at the top of Radillon, when there was cars parked up there. You had a very, very good point about, you know, the teams have a track map. They should have been watching that. They should have known there's a parked car up there. You don't come blasting through that corner on full cloud when you know there's cars up there that are parked and you can't see where they are.
Yeah, exactly. And well, it's affected some teams. Some teams have been affected more than others. Sometimes it's been the team that's been spun that has been collected. And honestly, also, if I was that team, I would be reporting the driver that hit me while I was stationary at the exit of a corner when, you know, yellow flags are out. You talk about it in real life racing, how unacceptable it is, and it should be the same in sim racing. If there's a car stationary, you have no excuse whatsoever to hit that car.
Same thing, same thing about the 199 car coming straight out of the pits and driving into the side of the 45 car that was parked and crashed at the top of
you're coming out of the pits. It's not blind. How? There is no way. Hey, I mean, the 45 car did move, but it's a bit dark.
Yeah, maybe just take it slow when you have the option of a real-time track map. That is, by the way, 95 in for its last splash and dash, and this will be a really short one with 9 minutes remaining. Like, will the fuel guy even have the time to put in the fuel hose before he needs to take it out again?
Yep. Honestly, he might just spit some fuel into the tank and be done with it.
There's 3 guys with buckets just throwing fuel at the car and then him going off again.
I could drink more water than fuel could be put into that car. Not long remaining now, just over 10 minutes, or sorry, just under 10 minutes, 8 minutes left, which equates to 4 or so laps. And for Deuces Motorsport, the first win of the season. All they have to do is bring that car home. A 2-minute 4.8 last time round. They are not pushing. They're not pushing at all. They're taking it easy.
Another leader, Henry Zennick from the now defunct Drillers eSport, now racing with Satellite Racing, taking the win in the DPI class as well. They've had that locked down since before half of the race was even gone. They've just been there, ready, just driving around,
just chilling. Stu Grimstone, he's not pushing, he's taking things chill now. Less than 4 laps to go.
We've got Tiziana Brioni in the leading GTE car for Musto GTE Esports.
Yep. And well, this race...
He's not pushing either. No. He's down to the 2:17 now. The fastest lap is 2:14.7, so no, he's not pushing either.
I mean, you say that, he's still going faster than his new mate. And not too much slower than
they're not really any cars left on the grid here that would be pushing now.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Well, this race, honestly, the start of this race, the first hour and a half was the best opening hour of any of the races we've had this season. The middle portion of the race did get dull. I won't lie to you on that regard. There wasn't much happening. The gap between the gap between Juices and DAC remained fairly constant. Musto and had their little battle that was going on with the 51 of WOSR, but again, it was a gap that was staying constant. We never really saw much change. Two fantastic teams with fantastic drives just matching each other.
Strangely, extremely long pit stop for a car that only needs to do 6 minutes on track.
Yes.
Is it damaged? Are they repairing before?
Wait, who's this?
Crossing the line. That's Unison.
Oh, okay.
But in all fairness, they could stay in here until there's half a minute left on the clock, drive out, complete a lap, and that's it.
Yep.
Victory.
They're 9 laps clear of Jakub Kowalski. And to be honest, I wouldn't even blame them if they want to do that. It makes sense. Don't risk getting an engine failure. But then, if you get an engine failure while you're coasting around on the last lap, then you'll look a little bit silly, right?
Yeah.
But
it's a bit boring for them to just park the car in the pits and wait and just complete the last lap. I get it's a bit boring, but yeah. Well, stay on the safe side. Why risk it?
Absolutely.
They could have been just hit behind by one of the LMPs or DPIs.
True. Pits is the safest place to be, unless you've got Valtteri Bottas nearby trying to exit his pit box. Then, well, maybe you might find yourself in a bit of danger. That one was out there, wasn't it, Peter?
I believe that's a toxic topic as well.
Is that a roast?
Whenever you got a Formula 1 driver posting pictures on his Twitter profile with him flipping a double bird to his followers and telling them to shut up, I believe that is yeah.
Wait, what did he do now?
Yes, he did.
Wait, sorry, what did he do? He said a double what?
That is after the Hungaroring incident. Very shortly after that, there was a post with him flipping the bird on both hands in front of a wall, and the text basically telling people to mind their own business.
I'm trying to remember what he did at Hungary now. What happened to Hungary? Oh yeah, he hit people. Yeah, of course, yeah. I forgot. I was thinking, I don't remember Bottas doing anything in that race.
It wasn't on purpose. It was just him.
Oh yeah, of course it wasn't on purpose, but it's not a mistake that you like to see anyway. It does happen from time to time.
Sometimes it's an honest mistake. That's when stuff happens that you couldn't really prevent happening. He could have absolutely prevented that with just applying a appropriate portion of logic before his actions. He could have prevented that big time. He didn't.
I mean, in fairness to him, it is raining. It is very hard to see, and getting your braking point just right, especially when you're on cold tires, cold brakes, can make things a little bit more tricky.
But everybody knows turn one in the wets, you don't wait to brake in until you see the brake lights of the car in front.
Yep.
If you do that, you're going to hit him. The Constantino effect will make that gap disappear.
Oh,
turn
absolutely.
into something that a car can't fit inside.
Well, either way, we only have a couple of minutes remaining here from Spa-Francorchamps. 2 minutes 30 on the clock, and you know what? For our race leader, Steen Prince, he's going to be making his way.
Yeah, the next lap will be the last lap of the race.
I was going to say, if he was crossing the line now, just take a really slow lap. Honestly, park it, pull it to the side, wait a couple of minutes, finish the race. Don't let anything happen. But then again, if he does that, Zoltan Varconi might close in. So I think he does need to do an extra lap. But Juices, they're going to be cheering in their TeamSpeak chat already. They're going to be expecting that they take this win. they're even going to let the hypercar through of satellite racing. That's how chill they are taking things. If we saw the revs, they'll be short shifting. In fact, you know what? We can show you guys. I guarantee you they're going to be lifting and coasting. They're going to be short shifting. Yeah, you can see they get to a couple of orange lights and that's it. Oh no, they go into the reds.
Leader is on last lap. Leader is on last lap.
And there we go, announcement that we are on to the last lap of the race. 1 minute 20 remaining in the session. No chance for Steen Prinz to complete this lap before the time drops or ticks down to 0, I should say. A great performance from Deuces Motorsport. They were on the back of the 95 for so long, and after the 95 had their engine difficulties, Steen Prinz, everyone at...
For interrupting, but does that hypercar satellite racing want an extra lap?
Yes.
Apparently they do, because they are not slowing down and getting themselves back in behind the 15. Well, okay. Is that the
Seems that way.
If that's the way you want to do it, then no problem.
But back to Steen Prinz for Deuces. They've kept things sensible. They haven't been pushing at the end. It's just been consistent, clean driving. They've just been monitoring their car, making sure everything runs nice and neatly. They haven't put a foot wrong really all race here. The closest they got to putting a foot wrong was when they tried to overtake the 95 DAC hackers. They had a bit of a moment right here through the Fania chicane. They spun, they lost 9 seconds. But aside from that, no real mistakes. They had a little bit of contact with one of the back markers very briefly. The session has drawn to a close. And for Steen Prinz, he has 1.5 straight to go. Deuces Motorsport have not won a race all season long. And here at Spa, in the penultimate round of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship, they are going to do exactly that. Into the bus stop chicane, one of the Porsches will pull to the side so they don't have to do one further lap. But Deuces Motorsport will take the win, and Steen Prinz will bring home the honours for the LMP2 outfit. Zoltan Varkonyi, a heroic effort from him, from everyone over at DAC Hackers. But it is not enough. Henry Sinnick, leading in the satellite racing class, makes his way through Savalo, Curve Paul Frere.
Did you just call it the satellite racing class? Oh, why are Doctor are in there as well?
I mean, it is pretty much the satellite racing class right now, just like the GTE class is the Musto class. I don't think I said that, but I might very well have done. Henry Sinnick will be, I'm sure, not happy that he hasn't won the overall event. He hasn't won the overall race, but he'll take solace in the fact that he'll bring in 25 points for the team. Ian Piper in the second hypercar, the second DPI car, will bring home 18 points for the squad. And Tiziana Brioni, Musto, a great drive, and they're going to be in unison, 1 and 2. To finish this race. Fantastic stuff from Musto. WOSR should have been there. We got robbed of what could have been a thrilling battle between Musto and WOSR. Eyes on performance. But Musto will bring in the points. They'll extend their lead in the GTE class. Fantastic performance from them, and they've got a lot to be proud about from this event. And now just one race remains for them to bring it back and bring it home in Le Mans in 1.5 months' time. Musto 1-2 in the GTE class.
Well proud of that. And then we just need to discover what happened to the Unison racing guys and what they did about the pit stop.
There's my producer.
They will have crossed the start-finish line now. So they actually crossed the start-finish line somewhere in between the DPI and the number 15. still worth it here to grab a couple of screenshots from this.
So there we go. Your race winners from each class. Alexei Mizin will take the win in the GT3 class, a 4th win of the season for Unison Racing. And I think, Peter, on that note, we're going to be jumping on into a short break, right? And we will be returning.
I just need us to stick here for just a couple of more seconds to make sure that we get everybody across the start-finish line. But yeah, we will hurry up, Yusuf. No problem about it. I know that a lot of the drivers are going to be wanting to get on with watching the Formula 1 race as well. So that's straight up into pit lane. Congratulations to the guys. And with that, yeah, it's time for the commercial break, so we'll be right back after this for some interviews and post-race action.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Here we go. That is actually right now use of the Axel Sports, the unfortunate demise on the opening laps. By the way, if any of the drivers are up for interviews, we are ready and will be surveying the green room for people showing up and giving their 2 cents on how the race went down.
Yep, so if anyone does want to join us, feel free to do so. Just to give everyone a final reminder of the standings, it was a race win for the number 15 Deuces Motorsport car. They took the win ahead of the 95 DEAC Hackers. Then it was 64 winning in the hypercar class of Satellite Racing. Nuno Pinto third in the LMP2 class ahead of Gabor Hevesi from Mugen Sim Racing. Ian Pfeiffer second, making it a Satellite 1-2 in the hypercar class. ProSim finished fifth in LMP2 ahead of Blue Steel Racing. Viaductive finished third in their hypercar class. Tiziano Brioni made it a 1-2 for Mosto GD Esports, with Jordi San Andres and DIS completing the top four. In the GT3 class, Alexei Mizin took the win ahead of Glam Racing, picking up their second place finish of the season. Cyril Malbrun took a third for One Move Esports, with Martin Militai in a very, very lonely fourth place, just trying to bring back the points for the team. But Pete, it still seems that no one has joined the green room. How long do you want to wait?
We might be in a situation where everyone is kind of trying to get out of the rigs, turn on the TV and everything in order to watch the start of the Formula 1 race. I can perfectly accept that if that is the situation. So no need to sit around here and debate this. We can always take these interviews at a later date if that is what is needed given the current situation.
Okay, well, we ran through the order. 670 laps completed at the end, Peter.
A bit more than my 650 to 660. So actually,
I mean, to be fair, it didn't rain as hard as we thought it would, so
no.
I can forgive it. But ladies and gents, thank you oh so much for tuning in. This is GTR 24/8 signing out. We'll be back in the late part of October for the final round of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship from Le Mans. If you haven't already, make sure to keep a follow on Twitter, on Facebook, GTR 24H, to stay up to date with any updates that will be coming your way, and for announcements of the teams that might be joining us and when we will be going live and all of that. I've been Yusuf bin Sahel. I had Ewan O'Leary alongside me for the majority of this race. He's taking a well-earned break. Peter Malcolm was producing, and John Terrell doing all of the race directing work. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you in October.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 5, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, is brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, Global Flix, Film Volt, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.